I'm your host, Sally O'Malley.
And I'm Peter Piper, and it's not true, I do not like pickled peppers.
All right, let's get started.
Yes, I know. Last week, Google went down for more than an hour in a few different states, or as Bing and Yahoo like to put it, now how are we going to look stuff up?
And a new survey taken found that 70% of Americans admit to just going through the motions at their jobs. And the other 30%, blah, blah, blah. Insert your punchline here, you get the gist.
Recent polls show that Mexico is now the #1 obese country in the world. The U.S. is in a close second, but don't worry. Representatives from Twinkie released a statement saying they are putting the spongy goodness back into the stores, and we will get that #1 spot back.
Bring Twinkies back. Bring Twinkies back. I like Twinkies. You thought I missed you. I got you. I'm sorry, yeah, but it was a Twinkie.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Yes.
We're trying to have a newscast here. Is your name Tim Gregg?
Yeah, you're in my seat, I think. I'll move over to this. I like this. Yes, sir. Hi, Peter Piper. Picked up.
I don't like peppers. That's my answer. I don't like peppers. No.
I think you're two water bottles.
Two water.
Yes.
Okay. There were tensions downtown today.
Wait. 1, 2,
Nine shins. My bad. I'm sorry. We got it.
4, 5.
Nine shins.
That's pretty cool there.
Now let's take a brief moment for our sponsor,
Petey!
Sing Niters.
That's Petey!
Slowly but surely.
That's what he looked like before we ate him.
What do you think? All right.
Now let's take a look at movie news.
The Lone Ranger, one of the biggest movies of the summer, is considered a box office flop. But we know of at least one person who loved it.
Republicans in the House seem to think that overtime is a luxury and is not mandated.
Disney released trailers for an upcoming movie this holiday season called Saving Mr. Banks, starring Tom Hanks as Walt Disney himself. This movie is about how Disney took the book Mary Poppins and brought it to the big screen. It looks like an amazing movie.
You know, Petey, speaking of Mary Poppins, I'm pretty sure I heard that Jesus had a basket, kind of like her bag. I bet he could pull a lamp out of that thing.
Maybe so. Do you know a lot about baskets?
I need a basket like that. It pulls out fishes. I have to fish for them. But every time it's gone.
Now let's take a look at our poll of the day.
I remember the time I caught a fish, it was this big. It took me 3 days to get it in.
No.
Yeah.
We're at the poll of the day.
Oh.
45% say nuh-uh, while 55% says yes,
This past week, Marshall had a break in the main water line, leaving half the city to boil their water in order to drink it. And now we go to our own Gregg Taylor for his thoughts on this.
I heard you pretty smart.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's a handsome man right there. He's a handsome man.
Imposter.
That's it for the news. But before we go, we would like to give a warm special birthday shout out to an old man that is all of the age of
Something like that.
something like that.
70, I don't really know.
Anyways,
They'll probably see things.
Cody, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
No. Oh. That's for me. Cody, happy birthday. And remember, as birthdays go, it could always be one.
And I'm Sally O'Malley.
And I'm
Thank you. And now,
young man.
talking animals.
They talk to you. Ours is oral.
Oh, Kevin, that's a lovely tribute. I just miss him, Mum. Excuse me, I'm having a bit of trouble with my wing. I think it's broken. Can anyone help?
Do I know anyone who can help? Gather round, brothers and sisters, join me. Are you ready to receive the healing? Ready to receive the love? Nighttime.
Daytime! Nighttime! Daytime! Nighttime! Daytime!
What are you doing?
I'm gonna get him nighttime, daytime! You wanna play?
No, you'd like to go to Xbox. You'd just like to open wide, sir. Going anywhere nice on your holidays? Yeah, don't try and talk when my hands are in your mouth, sir. My wife and I are thinking of going abroad this year. Dudley, she's got family in the zoo over there. You got kids? Please don't talk when my hands are in your mouth, sir. Do the filling here, actually, at the back. Is it mainly bananas you eat? I won't tell you again, sir. Please don't try and speak when I'm working inside your mouth. Right, I'm just going to cheeky little taste. That's not bad, actually. Almost done. Just need to smell your breath. Oh, that's rank. I think I need to lie down.
So we're making legs. Look at it. Oh, I don't look at that. Stop looking at it.
You just told me to look at her.
Ow! 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 I'm trying to get over.
I don't know, I don't seem to have a lot of luck with women. I mean, I'm kind and caring and... No, it's a mystery. Shoot, 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 shoot. Oh, I don't think he'd do it.
Music and fashion is always the passion of the core. Hey, are you filming me in the bath? Get out, go in, man, I'm naked. You better not put it on YouTube.
Oh, what a day. Network crash, lost your wallet, phones run out of battery. Couldn't get any worse. Oh, cracking stuff.
Oh, so that's not a... Steve, Steve!
John, I don't think one of that's away.
It's fine, just keep a lookout. What was that? That was music.
Whoa! Where did all these come from? You know me, lads, I can't leave with an audience.
Oh, I tell you what, I don't like that man who's just moved in next door. Oh, he's really creepy.
Oh, hello! Could I trouble you for a cup of sugar, please?
Listen, we realize they're about cakes. These are hard to find. You know, some people might be thankful to have cakes. You should talk to them.
Had cake.
You're not going to do that.
Okay, did y'all have fun? Really, it was that exciting for you? Excellent. All right, so tonight I want to talk to you about a legacy. Do you know what the word legacy means?
No.
It's a period. No. A legacy, I actually looked this up, y'all. I did some work. A legacy is anything that's handed down from the past as from an ancestor or a predecessor. So basically a legacy is something you get from like your mom and dad and your grandma and your great-grandparents and your great-great-grandparents and so on and so forth. Now, sometimes a legacy comes in the form of items like maybe a prized possession or a family heirloom, and those kinds of things are great because you can hold on to them and they help you to remember your family history. But the kind of legacy that I want to talk to you guys tonight about is your spiritual legacy. So your faith or your belief that's been passed on to you from your parents or your grandparents or your great-grandparents and so on. And it's what you'll pass on to the next generation of believers. Now, some of us come from an amazing legacy of faith. Some of y'all in here can say, I was born and raised in church, and maybe you can count back all the generations that you've known of your family that have attended a specific church. When we lived in San Angelo, I actually knew a lady whose husband had helped to build the church building that they had church in. That's a legacy. Some of us don't come from a legacy of faith. Some of us come from a family of unbelievers or sometimes believers. Those are the people who, you know, they hit church at the big ones, the Christmas, Easter, family functions, but there's no real substance to that kind of faith. And that's not the kind of legacy you want to pass on to the next generation. So our legacy that we leave behind isn't just something that happens when we die. Our legacy is something that we live every single day of our lives. We get to choose every day what we add or what we take away from our legacy. So if you come from a legacy that's not really the best, maybe you come from a legacy of people who didn't attend church, or they only attended when it was convenient or when it was a holiday. That doesn't mean that has to be the legacy that you accept into your life. You can choose to change that and do things differently. And there's a couple of stories in the Bible that I want to take a look at to give us some ideas about the legacy that you can leave. And the first one comes from Numbers 27, and it's chapters 1 through 11. I don't think anything's hooked up, so I'm going to read it to you. Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of this other guy, the son of Gilead. And you know they do all that where they tell you who we got, who. Okay, so we're going to get past that. And they named all of the daughters. They all have really hard to pronounce names. Like Zelophehad is easy compared to their names. You know, you can read that. Okay. So, they stood before Moses, before Eleazar the priest, and before the leaders of all the congregation by the doorway of the tabernacle meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, but he was not in the company of those who gathered together against the Lord, in the company of Korah, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be removed from among his family because he had no sons? Give us a possession among our father's brothers. And so Moses brought their case before the Lord. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak what is right. You shall surely give them the possession of inheritance among their father's brothers, and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. And you shall speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a man dies and he has no sons, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughters. If he has no daughters, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the relative closest to him and in his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be to the children of Israel a statute of judgment, just as the Lord commanded Moses. So, a little backtrack. Zelophehad lived during the time when the Israelites had fled from Pharaoh. And they're wandering in the desert. You know, they wandered for 40 years because, like us, they made a lot of mistakes and God corrected them. And every time he corrected them, they spent a little more time wandering around in the middle of nowhere. And the rule at the time was, the law at the time was that if a man died, his inheritance, all of his property, everything went to his sons. But Zelophehad had no sons. He had 5 daughters. And his daughters knew that they would get nothing. And they didn't think it was right. And so these 5 girls went to Moses. Moses talked to God. These 5 girls were questioning the law of God. And they went and said, this isn't right and it isn't fair. And we want to know if we can have our father's inheritance. They wanted that inheritance so much that they were willing to stand up to the leaders and say, this isn't right. And when Moses took their case before God, God said, you know what, they're right. It's not fair. And you're going to give them that inheritance. And it changed the law. And that's their legacy, and their legacy is so great, it's written in the Bible. 5 girls in the desert who stood up for what they wanted, for what they thought was right. I mean, that had to be kind of scary to get their legacy. Now the next one I want to look at is not such a great example, and it's in Genesis chapter 4, and it's verses 1 through 8, and it's a story we all know, the story of Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were brothers, and they went to take their offering before the Lord, and Abel brought the best. He went through what he had, and he took his very best and offered it to God. God was well pleased in him. I'm not going to read this word for word, that's a lot. And then Cain took what he had, and he took out what he wanted for himself. And then he said, I have this little bit left over here, and I'm going to give that to God. So Cain took what was left over, and he gave it to God, and God said, you know, that's nice, but not really. And Cain got mad. And Cain went, and he went to his brother in his jealousy and in his anger, and he killed his brother. And I'm sad to say, that is Cain's legacy. It was such a great legacy that it's written in the Bible. That's his choice. That's his legacy. So when you think about it, who would you like to be known as? Do you think people went around bragging, you know what, Cain? Good friends with him. Probably not. But you know what? If I was one of the people related to Zelophehad and all them people, I'd be like, I know those girls. They're my good friends. We're cousins. The choice is up to you to decide every day what kind of legacy are you going to leave behind. What kind of legacy do you want to be associated with? Sometimes you have to take a stand for your legacy, like Zelophehad's daughters. You know, maybe it's not as scary as us. We don't have to go and stand before Moses, the ruler of everything, who talks directly to God and say, you know what, I think you're just wrong on this one, dude. We don't have to do that. But sometimes we have to take a stand. We have to stand up to friends. Sometimes we have to take a stand. We have to stand up to family.
Right.
Sometimes we stand alone. That's your legacy. What's it worth to you? You know? It's not enough just to have a legacy handed to you. For those of you who attend this church, who were raised in church, and your mom and daddy were raised in church, and your grandma and grandpa were raised in church, it's not enough for you to just say, yeah, my mommy and daddy were raised in church. We've always gone to this church. It's not enough to sit on that legacy. What are you going to do? What more can you do? How can you make that legacy greater? And I know you guys are like, legacy, that's like old people, when you die, that's what you leave, but it's not. Your legacy is what you live every day. Every choice you make today, whether it's to brush your teeth or not to brush your teeth, that's part of your legacy. What do you want to be known as? Do you want to be known as the do not story? That's Cain's story. That's the story with like good and bad. Cain is the legacy you don't want to have. So don't be throwing rocks at people. Don't be killing your family members. Just saying. But you get to choose. I know that at the end of the day, I want my friends and family to know that they're loved. I want my life to point to God in such a way that no one questions what side I'm on. And I make mistakes. Everybody does. And making a mistake doesn't ruin your legacy. But when you make a mistake, it's what you do with the aftermath that determines what your legacy is going to be. So you have to choose every day what you're going to do. In every situation that you face all day, what's the legacy you're going to leave? Because what you do today doesn't just affect you, but it affects your siblings. And yes, someday you're all going to grow up and have children. In the very distant future, that's going to happen. And you can worry about that then, but right now, your legacy affects them. Michaela and Hannah, what you guys do, that's Emily and Cody's legacy. What you guys do affects your mom and dad. So think about your choices. What are you going to do with your legacy? When you leave the room, what legacy do you want to leave in your wake? Do you want people to see, ooh, she brings peace everywhere she goes. She just brings happiness. People be like, oh, I'm so glad she left today. Whew, it's a handful. Oh, my neighbor sister, that's so good. Good to see you. But that's what I have for y'all today. Think about it. Everything you do all day, that's your legacy. That's what you leave behind. So what kind of legacy do you want to have? If it's not what you want, how can you change it? The end. That's it. I don't have a fancy closing, but I want to let stuff down.
Everyone give Vanessa that.
You don't have to clap.
Everybody give Vanessa that. Guys, while she was giving her message, it made me think of in Psalms 78:4. Can you read that up for me, Joey? The NLT.
Don't look right at it.
Okay, it says, we will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord and His power and His mighty wonders. Adults, that's for you. Youth, let's change a couple words in that. We will not hide these truths from our friends, from our family, from our siblings. We will tell our generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about His power and His mighty wonders. That's your legacy. As adults, we're supposed to teach you of God. We're supposed to tell you how to have God in your heart, how to walk. We are supposed to lead by example. As youth, you have the same responsibilities to lead by example, but you lead your peers by example. And I know it's a lot, but that's why God's with us, so that we don't have to have that burden on us whenever we have hardship comes on us. Because this is what the Bible wants us to do. We're supposed to share to our generation the wonderful deeds. This is the legacy that we leave. The legacy of showing God's love, and not just your lifetime, but day by day. I thank you guys for coming out. We're going to close in prayer, but before we do, I want to, if there's anybody that needs prayer, if there's anyone that's sick, anyone that needs prayer for their body, or anybody that just needs prayer, anybody that needs to just get closer to God, or anybody that needs to just